Hey y'all, IrixGuy here. Welcome back to another live show. And this is IrixGuy's live show, episode number 120, episode 120. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop in here. I see we've got Jake. We got Tech for Your Needs, and we got a bunch of other people tuning in here. So this show, obviously, if you've been here before, you know the format, and you know that I've got the sound of the super chat. So if a super chat comes through, this thing makes a very cool sound. And if we get through $100 US during a single live show, then I will break out the drum. So that's the drill. Y'all know that. Hope everyone's doing okay. It's in the United States of America, it's the Labor Day weekend, so hope everybody's got some barbecue plans. I know that I'm going to be smoking some spare ribs, and doing that. So I'll be doing a lot of in addition to smoking the spare ribs, I'll be doing tutorial videos. How do you smoke spare ribs? How can you better inject flavor into your spare ribs, yet still get that hickory smoke and the, just the overall effect. P. Dietz, welcome aboard, P. Dietz. Welcome aboard, P. Dietz. P. Dietz is in the house. Welcome. Yep, Jake says, we know the drill. Good, good, good. That's the, just trying to keep the format predictable, yet, try to introduce some excitement. Bunch of cool stuff going on. Let me check my little events log here. There were a few things that popped up. Let's see, what do we have brewing? Let's see here. Oh, I need to save that. Let's see, there we go. Well, it's trying to update. There we go. Aha, there we go. Bingo, bingo. Brad. Shows are always bad times for me. Hey, dude, hopefully this one's a good time. He got his new smart controller. Awesome. Dude, do you want to tune in on the Skype and do the face on video, or is this a good live show for that? Because I can fire it up. If you want me to fire it up, I can fire it up, no problem. Yeah, a bunch of cool stuff brewing, man. Let's see, what is this potential upcoming event? Have y'all heard anything about a DJI event in November? Or is that total gossip? November 2020 DJI event. I don't know. I'm kind of leaning that it has been gibberish, but I may be wrong. I don't know if y'all have heard anything about a DJI launch event in November of 2020. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Let's see what we got here. Let's see, I was just looking for something. It's hard seltzer stuff, man. This is kind of weird. I like it, but it's different. And Jake says, today I was testing some of my weapons from my weapon collection. Took out some of my targets outright with one of the double barrel shotgun. Yes, I'm a weapon collector. Dude, that's a very cool thing to collect. Because number one, inevitably the supply of those is especially with key models and all of that, it's hard to go wrong. If you're getting in on the good stuff. I'm anytime I go backpacking where it's permissible, I never go into the wilderness without a with at least a 357 SIG or 9mm. And if I'm in bear country, well, speaking of that, I need to get something bigger for bear country. I do, because I don't know how effective a 357 SIG would be against, and obviously I'm not gonna go out and attack bears, but if a bear comes after me and the bear spray doesn't work, I got plan B, which is a Glock, but all that I got is a 357 SIG, so I don't know if that's sufficient for a bear. I probably need to get a 10mm or something like that. But yeah, it's I got a spot on my screen, man. Can't stand that when I got a speck of, when you're looking at your screen, you got a spot. It's unacceptable. Definitely is. Okay, I got it. Jake says, got all sort of stuff, military, police, and civilian, and from all over the world, Canada, U.S., Russia, you name it. Very cool. Very, very cool. I bet you got some sort of AK variant from Russia, even if it's not the Kalashnikov. I guess Kalashnikov, that is kind of the best AK, isn't it? I mean, as far as I don't know. I know there's a bunch. I'll confess, I'm not super knowledgeable when it comes to firearms. Jake says, 357 SIG is great handgun, and a few of those, including one high-powered one. Yeah, I've got the Glock 32. So it's just that, it's definitely not a range gun. It's because the ammo is not affordable. Well, no ammo is affordable today, but it is pretty cool. Jake, I'm on the cheap end. I've got the Oyster 10 Romanian Kujir arsenal. So that's just a fun go out to the range and have a good time. But honestly, man, the iron sights on it, and again, I don't claim to be an expert at this at all, but the iron sights on that thing are dead on. I can put some empty soda bottles or watermelon at the end of the range, 100, 150 yards out, and it's pretty freaking accurate. But that's just kind of, I picked that thing up back, let's see, it's 2020 now. I probably picked that up in, it would have been early 2000s. That was back before all the, back when you could go to a gun show and they actually had guns there that were actually affordably priced. And actually, I traded out of an SKS and got that Oyster 10. And Jake says he's got the Glock 32, 18, and 17. Very cool. What do you think? What do you think about the Glock? What do you think about the Glock 10mm? I forget the model number for that, but I mean, as far as bear defense, what do you think would be the best Glock for defense against a bear? If you were attacked by a bear, which Glock would you want? I like the Glock just because it's so easy to strip and clean. And I've also got a car CW9, which is 9mm, and it's easy to strip and clean. But the Glock, once you've handled a Glock, they're just super simple to maintain, minimal amount of parts to break. Yeah, they're not the most, a lot of people would say they're not the most attractive firearms. It's, as far as design, this, that, and the other, I mean, you look at a 1911 or something like that. I mean, that's a much nicer looking pistol. But as far as reliability, price, and performance, I mean, and again, I'm not an expert, but just my experience, I love Glock. Some firearms I've got date from the 18th and 17th century, old flintlocks and wheel locks. Very cool. That's super cool, man. Do you fire any of those, or are they just pretty much wall hangers? Yeah, the SKS, I guess the oldest thing I had was the SKS, and it had the the spike bayonet that would pop out of the front of it. So it was kind of cool. It was a 7.62 by 3.9. But yeah, that's something I'd love to get into. And actually, I regret not getting into it earlier. If I could have seen the future and seen how hyperinflated the firearms prices would become, if I could have seen the future, I would have been a heavy buyer in the past, because I mean, there's a lot of, and I understand it's not, there's certain firearms that one would purchase for collectability and appreciation, and then there's also firearms that would be that you'd want to have just to have for self-defense, and you'd never want to let go of. And for that reason, I think that most anyone, and again, tell me what you think about this, because a heck of a lot more about this than I do. But when I think about self-defense, I think about, you don't want to just be limited to one caliber. And in the case of the 357 SIG, it's kind of weird, because that's a weird round. So if that was your only firearm, you'd be in bad shape, because 357 SIG is hard to find. And for that reason, I like to have multiple calibers. I like to have 357 SIG, which is my super reliable. If I get into an SHTF scenario, it's great, but you want to have the other stuff. So for that reason, I got to have a 9mm. I've got a 9mm. I've got to have a 7.62 by 3.9, on the rifle front. And I've got to have, really, that's all I got to have. And if, go out and have fun, you could go out with a 22 LR, a 22 long rifle. And you could go out and, buy a box of 22 LR for next to nothing, go to the range and have a good time. Well, those days, that ship sailed many years ago, when the 22 LR ammo shortage or whatever occurred, and you couldn't get it, and if you could, it was hyperinflated. So I guess for now, as far as going to the range, and which I don't do much, because it's just gotten to be so freaking expensive, and especially the past few months, this has been the most recent. I should have accumulated when everything dipped, pre-coronavirus, because, you could get, especially 9mm, 7.62 by 3.9, 45 ACP, you could get a lot of that stuff very affordably. And now, it's all gone up. But, gone are the days, unfortunately, where you could just go out and buy that stuff dirt cheap and just have a fun afternoon at the range. I mean, there's few things more exciting. I mean, there's a lot of things that are exciting, but I mean, just going out to the range and testing your skills, whether it's a pistol or a rifle or a bow and arrow for that matter, just going out and having a good time. I mean, that stuff's hard to beat. Jake says, nope, they fire. Let's see. He said, I'd say a rifle or carbine would work better, but for handguns, Colt 1911. Yep. That's what I need to pick up, the 1911. The SKS Semenov carbine with integral bayonet. Jake says, some rounds I've got are police LESD lethal rounds, rubber bullets, and OC rounds, not tear gas. Tear gas is illegal in Canada. I never would have known that. That's super cool, man. I mean, it's not cool, it's illegal. That's one of those things I never would have known is illegal. Hybrid Life says, IrixGuy, welcome aboard, Hybrid Life. Jake says, two of my prized weapons are my M16 and MR and AR-15. And Hybrid Life says, I'm a weapons instructor, United States Marine Corps vet. Thank you. Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, I'm just, I do it recreationally, and I haven't recently just because it's gotten to be so expensive with all the manipulation of ammo prices, this, that, and the other. But I do need to get a good, like you said, a 1911 Hybrid Life. What would you recommend as far as a pack and carry pistol for bear country? What would you, I don't want anything big. I don't want anything like the Casull or whatever it's called, because that's a very heavy and bulky pistol to carry around in a backpack. But what would you recommend? Jake recommended the 1911. What would you recommend for self-defense while in bear country? Which pistol would you recommend? Jake says AR-15s and M16s are slightly different, as AR-15s are slightly smaller. Jake says tear gas is only a police use only in Ontario, Canada, only police and military. Cool. Well, that begs the question, can you carry... See, when I go into bear country in the United States, I carry bear spray, which is, in essence, tear gas, I think. Can you carry bear spray as a civilian in Canada, or is bear spray outlawed as well? Bear spray. Hope I never have to use it, but I always have bear spray on the out. And that's the funny thing, there's so many people that, so Hybrid Life says he would go with the 10 millimeter Glock. So I've got the 1911 and 10 millimeter Glock. I'm assuming the Glock 10 millimeter is probably a lot less expensive than the 1911. And that's, I did a lot of research on forums, and what y'all just said, the 1911, the 10 millimeter Glock. Some people said 45, but the majority of people were saying that the 45 would probably not be sufficient for self-defense against a bear. So for that reason, I'm going to stay away from 45 ACP. So I'm going to look at the 10 millimeter Glock, or the 1911. And the other people said the Casull, but I mean that Casull thing is just it's just too big, man. I mean, you're carrying all this other stuff. You don't want to have. I mean, maybe somebody does, but I don't want to have a firearm that big in conjunction with all my other gear. Yeah, I mean, Glock. That's one thing. I mean, I've only got one Glock. I got the Glock 32 357 SIG, and I've never had a misfire. I've never had a jam, and that thing is, if all Glocks are created equally, reliability is key, because if you're in a split-second situation and you get a misfire or a jam, you're going to be in a world of hurt. Jake says, but I do have a tear gas launcher, but I only fire smoke grenades out, and yes, bear spray is legal in Canada. Got some in my collection with police pepper spray. Very cool. Very, very cool. I'm planning actually a backpacking expedition back to British Columbia, and then also going to go north of Canada, go into Alaska and do some backpacking up there. So Hybrid says he carries a Glock 19 unless at hospital or school. Yeah, 9 millimeter is hard to beat, man. That's good. When I've got a let's see, what is it? As far as ultra compact, the Ruger LCP2. It's just it's a 40 caliber. But as far as ultra compact, when you've got gym shorts on and you want to use an in waistband type holster, I mean that works great, especially when you put the ultralight ammo in it. Not for bear country, but for any sort of other sketchy situation. Jake says, when I'm in bear country, I usually carry my 1911 and my Maverick. What is a Maverick 88? It almost sounds like a drone, man. What's a Maverick 88? You piqued my curiosity there. Maverick 88. Maverick. Remember Sarah Palin, she would always say, that was her saying, it was Maverick. Too bad she just kind of went off the radar. I don't know whatever happened to Sarah Palin. She was pretty cool. So let's see. Jake says, with bear bangers and whistle rounds and slugs for my Maverick. Oh, the Maverick 88's a shotgun. Gotcha. The problem I'd have with that, see, I'm pretty much limited to a pistol because, when you're backpacking, at least in the United States, when you're backpacking, if you've got a rifle or a shotgun sticking out, it can create unwanted conversations, unfortunately. I know Canada and Alaska are completely different because people there, fortunately, are accustomed to seeing firearms and this, that, and the other. But, yeah, so, like, for me, for backpacking, I've got to have carry and conceal. So I'm going to look at that Glock 10 millimeter or the 1911 for the bear country. Hybridize says, what do you think of the new Rolex lineup? Well, let me pull up the website, and I'll tell you my thoughts right now. So, number one, I think that the discontinuation of the Hulk, the green dial, green bezel Submariner, I think that was expected, and I do think that I don't think that the new, let's just call it the Kermit ceramic, I think it's going to pale in comparison to the Hulk. I think it's really, the Hulk, we've already seen rapid appreciation because of the discontinuation of it, but I think we're even going to see it rise more, and I don't think that the ceramic Kermit is going to perform anywhere near as well as the Hulk did, because people seem to prefer that green dial versus the black dial. With that said, I think it'd still be a good a good investment piece if people, have a relationship with an authorized dealer and can actually get their hands on it. The new Submariner in 41 millimeter, I mean, honestly, yeah, you get, it's, 72 hours power reserve. If you take it off your wrist, it'll last a little bit longer. 40, the jump from 40 to 41 is not that significant, especially since the lugs, they've, reduced the size of the lugs. So even though the watch is 41 millimeter, I don't think that, that the increase by 1 millimeter in size is that big of a deal. What I do think, though, is that, and we're just talking about the Submariners right now from the 2020 releases. What I do think is interesting is that, they've put everything in 41 millimeter. And, that's suggesting to me that probably what we're going to see, and, mark my words, I think we're going to see the Hans Wildorf sister company, Tudor. I think that we're going to see Tudor start to roll out some ceramic bezels in their black bays. And that would make sense. Rolex is going a little bit bigger. They're going 41 millimeter in their Submariner. Obviously their number one dive watch. And I think it opens up the floodgates for Tudor to enter the ceramic territory. Because, inevitably, these things are priced through the stratosphere now. And, retail prices don't mean anything because, unless you've got a great relationship with your authorized dealer or you're ultra lucky, you're never going to find them at that. So, gone are the days where you could walk in and negotiate a discount for a stainless steel Rolex. Gone are those days have been gone for many years. But, I think it's interesting that, they've gone to the 41. But, again, I think this is all strategic. I think we're going to see, Rolex is really trying to make Tudor successful. Tudor's their little child company, the poor man's Rolex. But it's not the case anymore because Rolex is going so up market that Tudor is still going to be up market, but it's just not going to be, Tudor is still going to be accessible by a lot of people, whereas Rolex is positioning themselves to be, inaccessible for the masses. So I think I think this is a significant move. Also, looking at the other models, at the other references, a lot of people may not have realized this, but they discontinued the Oyster Perpetual 39. The Oyster Perpetual 39 only had about it was a few years run. I mean, it wasn't long-winded at all. So I think the people that have the Oyster Perpetual 39 with a white or a black dial, not talking about the other dials that were kind of weird, I think those are going to become ultra collectible. As far as the new Oyster Perpetuals are concerned, they kind of mess themselves up because a lot of people don't realize it. But if you look at the dial on the let's see, the 3, the 6, and the 9 position, they have 2 batons instead of 1. That's irritated a lot of collectors, and I think that it's Hybrid Life Cayman Islands is where I bought this, and this is the 114060. It's, I don't know. I think it's interesting that, they've bumped up. Now they've got a 41 millimeter Oyster Perpetual, and then they've got the smaller Oyster Perpetuals in these funky colors. But I think what we're doing, we're seeing when their bottom tier, which is Oyster Perpetual, not saying it's a bad watch, when their bottom tier is already priced through the stratosphere from the authorized dealers, and you can't just walk in and typically buy any of these because they're always out of stock. I think what we're seeing now is the emergence of, again, I think we're seeing the emergence of tutors. So, in my, and I'm not a professional, but in my opinion, based upon what I've observed with watch, I've been involved with watch collecting since, for 25 plus years. So, I'm not an expert, but what I think we're going to see here is the inaccessibility of Rolex, not just from a price perspective, but just from a, pure availability perspective. Even if you've got a good relationship with an authorized dealer, you can't just walk in and buy it. So people are tasked with, if they want their Rolex model of choice, they're going to the gray market. The gray market's jacking up their prices, and that's making it even more inaccessible. So, Rolex is trying to become Patek Philippe. Rolex is trying to groom their lower tier company, Tudor, into the new Rolex. So, mark my words, 10 years from now, you're going to see Tudor is going to be the mainstream brand. And then, Rolex is going to be the brand for multi-millionaires that, and most people that are multi-millionaires, they don't even care about watches, but some of them do. But they're going to use this as an opportunity to better market their entry-level brand, which is Tudor. And Tudor is by no means entry-level. I mean, it's Jake says, just show you it's not me here. Sisters and girlfriend are watching too. Very cool. Jake says, I've got a military grade watch from my girlfriend's older sister. Very cool. Yeah, watches are cool. I've always had a fascination with them, and it's not. And that's the thing. That's the thing about wristwatches that's so interesting. A lot of people buy a watch for the wrong reason. If you're the person that wants to try to look cool or whatever, your one watch may be the watch. Actually, the watch is on my wrist right now, which is a Submariner, unfortunately. The reality is it's a great bomb-proof dive watch, and it's just super nice. But, responding to Hybrid Life's question, with what do I think about 2020 Rolex's offerings, and we need to expand upon this, man. When you get your live show stocks and watches up, let's try to get a bunch of people in and start some really good back and forth about this. Man, this seltzer, because it's carbonated, man, it makes you burp like crazy, dude. But yeah, I think we're gonna see the refinement. I think we're gonna see Tudor is going to become more well finished, if that makes sense. So, Tudor for a while, they just put out a bunch of junk. I mean, it looked like it was thrown together. You didn't have to be a watch collector to look at it and say this is just gibberish. But Tudor now, especially with their Black Bay 58 and their Pelagos, whatever, they've signaled, Gregory Ruger, welcome aboard. Tudor has signaled that they want to become a serious brand that people seriously consider. Because, if you're not a watch collector, if you're just looking for a nice watch and you want to get the best watch, if you're not a watch collector, in your mind, that watch is probably a Rolex. Just because of the branding, their excellent marketing. The reality is that all it is a brand. It doesn't say anything, and Rolex makes a wonderful watch. I mean, they make most of their metals in-house. Most of them are waterproof, except for the crappy ones, the Cellinis. But, it's just a great wear anywhere, don't have to worry about it watch. With that said, the what's the word for it? The quality and the wrist presence can be just as good with other brands. I mean, there's a lot of brands out there. But see, the thing is that Tudor has a special, they have a special opportunity because Hans Wildorf created both Tudor and Rolex. So now that Rolex, even their entry-level models, their Oyster Perpetuals are priced through the roof, that tells me that if they want to continue to sell watches to everyone, they're going to have to, breathe new life into Tudor. And for that reason, right now, I think there's a huge opportunity for collectors. If you're looking to, not just collectors, but people that just want a nice watch, if you're wanting to get into the game to pick up a Tudor, something like the Tudor Black Bay 58, not the original Black Bay. It's not as desirable. It sits a little bit too tall off the wrist. But like the Black Bay 58 or the Pelagos, which is, really cool, and it's not trying to be any other watch. It's just got its own identity. I think there's an opportunity now for forward-thinking individuals that, otherwise, people that may have the funds to do so, that may be chasing a Pepsi or a root beer or a Hulk or the new ceramic Kermit or whatever. They would better utilize their energy by going for the sound effects. I got to get some more sound effects, man. I got to do that. I need to work. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do tomorrow. I'm going to work on some sound effects and some smoking some barbecue ribs. But I think there's an opportunity here. I think, and again, I'm not an expert, but again, I've been involved with wristwatches for 25 plus years. I think that what we're about to see is the first time that Tudor has seriously achieved brand recognition. And when people would walk in and they want to buy their ultimate watch, they may say, hey, it's not Rolex, it's Tudor. Now, I don't think Tudor's ever going to trump Rolex as far as prestige is concerned. But, can Tudor displace the other competitors like Omega, Breitling? Those names come to mind immediately when you're thinking about, alternatives to Rolex. But Tudor's been the one until recently that has been pushed aside because they just released a bunch of crap. I mean, it just looked terrible. But that's not the case anymore with the Black Bay 58 and the Pelagos. So Hybrid Light, that's my rant. What do you think? What do you think about the 2020 Rolex releases? Do you think it's good? Do you think it signals anything? Do Do you think a lot of people on waiting lists for, say, the Hulk or the Pepsi may be jumping ship and going for the new ceramic Kermit? Or what do you think? Woohoo! Heck yeah. Man, this hard seltzer is good. But, unlike Gregor says, I like fossil watches, have a couple nice ones. I would love a Rolex Santa. There you go, man. Yeah, I mean, you gotta wear what makes you feel good, I mean, it's not, I don't know. I like a little bit of everything. Jake says, oh, pager's gone off again tonight. But did the fire chief call you? Isn't that what you said? You said the pager goes off, but you said he would call or something if there's an emergency you got to go off to. Oh, Gregory, I got this one right here. Just the Submariner. Jake says, I don't know if you saw it, but let's see. Yeah, always good to be prepared, man. You can't not be, well, you could not be prepared, but it would be ill prepared to be not prepared. It would be ill prepared to be unprepared. That's the best way to put it. Yo ho ho. Let's see what we got here. Had a pop up here. Let's see what the pop up says. It says I get a half price ice cream. Sounds good. You never know what's going to pop up, man. You never know. Let's see. But I don't want ice cream because I've been doing the Schwinn IC4, trying to lose some weight, trying to become, pandemic, man, make you fat. And it's disappointing, when you were on a roll, you had your gym routine down. Everything's going well, and then this pandemic comes out of nowhere and just ruins everything. Well, it didn't ruin everything. It made, honestly, I think the pandemic's done a few positives. I mean, it's made people rethink everything. I mean, it's, whether you like it or not, it's made a lot of people realize that, things shouldn't be taken for granted. You assume. Gregory says, let me tell you a story about a man named Jed. He had a lot of hair, but it wasn't on his head. Tell a story about Jed. Yep. Let's see what I got here. Ooh, I got a video coming about a micro cut shredder. Get ready for that. Micro cut shredder. Jake says, what's up, Irish guy? You can't give up on ice cream. It's the best treat around. You know what? It is, but I have cheese sticks. And I can put cheese sticks in an air fryer, and I've got marinara sauce because I stocked up for the pandemic. I got all this pizza sauce. So I could put some of that on some cheese sticks. Speaking of that, I'm kind of bummed. I watched, trying to look for just crazy stuff. And I was watching random shows on Netflix, and I started watching a show. It was called The Rain. And at a high level, what it was about, it started raining, and this rain had a virus in it. And these people were trying to escape the rain and the virus. And sadly, I watched all 3 seasons, and it ended. But, the fact that I watched all 3 seasons, I felt like I had accomplished something. And I felt like it was, downtime well spent, something that was just kind of, just kind of out there, but made you think. And it was a cool show. So I highly recommend The Rain on Netflix if you haven't seen it. Gregory, that story reminded me of a story, and I'm not going to tell you who said it because I don't want everything I say online, and everybody else should be the same way. You should assume that it should exist forever. But your story about the 10-foot pole, so there was a story, and I remember this. This was back, this was probably not 30 years ago, about 25 years ago. But I was camping out, and, we were, always telling stories, this, that, and the other. And there was this guy that actually had 2 failures in life. Number one is that this guy would shoot a bow and arrow up in the air, and he would watch, the arrows come down, and stick in the ground or whatever. So, one might assume that the next step would be that one of them landed on his head or something like that. It wasn't anything like that. After these arrows landed, he tried to jump over them, and he landed on one, and it ripped his nutsack off. So that was one failure. But the same dude, they had a tractor, and this tractor was, it was running fine, it was somewhat new, and they were trying to finish the job for the day or whatever, and it stopped working. Well, they looked around, it was somewhat new. They didn't see anything that seemed to be the problem, and they, they put their heads together and they came up with what they felt was a good solution, which turned out to not be a good solution, because there were 2 guys. One guy's name was Corey, and the other guy, I don't know what his name was. This is just a story. It's a true story, allegedly. I mean, again, it's like 25 years old. But basically what happened is that they were trying to see if the tractor was out of gas, and one of them had a lighter, and it wasn't Corey, it was the other guy. And it blew up, and now that guy says, Corey? You can't say Corey anymore because he's the guy that lit the thing and it burned his vocal cords. A horrible story. But your story of the, I don't know why your story of a 10-foot pole reminded me of the arrows and the tractor out of gas, but that's pretty bad. But anyway, again, this channel, not part of a multi-channel network, whatever happens, happens. Jake says, I was just going to say, watch what you say, Greg, but I'll let that slip. Never saw nothing. Jake says, that joke reminded me of a nasty injury to my leg near my rear, and got from a crossbow bolt. Shattering it did some damage to my rear too, but I lived to tell. And Gregory says, What LL? I bumped my head today getting my drone out of the car, and now it's hard for me to pronounce words that start with T. There you go, man. I'm going to do those cheese sticks. Those cheese sticks sounds good. Cheese sticks sound great. They really do. Yeah, dude. I mean, again, this was a story I heard at a campsite when we had all been drinking 25 years ago. So, yeah, I'm sure the dude was okay, but it was just one of those weird stories that just kind of sticks out, man. But yeah, you're right. He was lucky for sure, because that's not something you mess around with, man. Not something at all to mess around with. So let's see what else we got brewing here. Just trying to get some live shows going here. I want to do a live show with some guests. So, now it's a holiday weekend. So, tomorrow and Monday I'm going to be, on the grind with some barbecuing and all that. So, possibly do a live show, but I don't want to schedule anything with guests. But if y'all want to get up, if anybody wants to join a live show as a guest, let's say Tuesday night, let me know, because I'd love to get a live show up. Be kind of cool. Let's see. Yeah, I think I'm going to go watch. I watched I forget the name of the movie I watched on Amazon Prime last night. It was totally stupid. I can't remember. Can't remember what it was. Gregory says, send me a link. We're just grilling here all weekend. Love to be a guest. Same here, man. Shoot me a message, facebook.com/IrixGuy. And then what I'll do is I'll set up the show. I'll just plan on doing it, let's just say Tuesday evening. And I'll toss you the link, and you can dial into Skype if you want to. Tuesday at 8 p.m. Is that 8 p.m. Eastern? Let's do that. Let's do, I'm going to add it to my calendar. Let's do Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. So Jake and Gregory, just shoot me a message on facebook.com/IrixGuy, and I'll go ahead and what I'll do tomorrow, I'm not going to do it tonight because I'm pretty worn out. But what I'll do tomorrow is send out the invitation for Tuesday's 8 p.m. Eastern live show, 8 p.m. New York time live show. And we'll get that on the calendar, and that'll be cool. I mean, we can. I think having a lot of people face on video is really cool, just because it's more it's more engaging, than just typical live shows. So anything I want to talk about or whatever, man, it's all free game. Obviously we'll just keep it clean for all the age groups. And Jake, that's no problem, man. I don't want to type it in the comments because of spammers, but just shoot me a message. I'm trying to think of the best way to convey this. If you don't use Facebook, I'll just say it. I'm not going to say the full thing, but it's IrixGuy@gmail. IrixGuy@gmail. Send me an email, IrixGuy@gmail, and I'll reply to that with the link. And Gregory, that's the same for you too, man. If you happen to not use Facebook, you can just send to the IrixGuy@gmail as well. But I appreciate it, guys. I'm going to try to find what's it called? Oh, yeah, I'm going to try to find some sort of cheesy Netflix show, because I tell you, last night that Amazon Prime movie that I rented for free, or didn't rent, it was just free to watch. It was deeply disappointing. You know, sometimes that happens, man. I mean, sometimes you get a show that's not up to snuff, and that was the case. Sometimes you're pleasantly surprised. I mean, it's hard to say. Jake says, but I will keep an eye out for the YouTube notification on Tuesday. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, that's Tuesday. It'll be Tuesday at 8 p.m. New York. And see, what's the other thing? Tuesday at 8 p.m. New York. And then, you know, obviously, if you're going to join Face on Video or audio only, I mean, you can use Skype for audio only if you don't want to use a webcam to be Face on Video. But be sure you have Skype installed. You can use it on your smartphone or your computer or whatever you use. No problem there. So, guys, I appreciate it as usual, and I'm going to go ahead and cook some cheese sticks and watch something on TV. Y'all have a good one. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe. YouTube.com/IrixGuy. Hey, y'all. IrixGuy here. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to subscribe, like, and share. It's viewers like you that enable my channel to continue to grow. Thank you.